Okay, finally doing an in-depth bookshelf tour. Up there, I have some random books. I don't really know where else to put these, so I put them up here. These are ballet books, and I have an art book. And then over here at the top shelf, I have my philosophy books. I love reading philosophy, although I'm not so sure if I'm good at understanding it. I just like reading it. I used to organize these by publisher. Now, just to change it up a little, I organized it by author. So this is what it looks like. Over here, I have some Eastern philosophy, mostly Sun Tzu, Art of War. This is the Canterbury Classics. Art of War, it includes some other Eastern philosophy books. This is a manga. Then these are the military strategy books of China. I have another copy of The Art of War. And then leaning towards the Western philosophy over here, we have The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. I recently read this and I'm just blown away. I don't know why it took me such a long time to finally read it. I did try to read it back in high school, but obviously I'm too young then. The Great Philosophers by Stephen Lau. Then we have Candide by Voltaire. Marcus Aurelius. Meditations, Letters from a Stoic by Lucius Seneca. Then we have Plato, the Dialogues of Plato. And then 2 copies of Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle. I don't like this edition, so I had to buy a new one. And then we have my Friedrich Nietzsche collection. I love reading his works. I have most of his works. I'm still in the lookout for the gay science though. We have Thus Spoke Zarathustra, arguably my favorite book. The Genealogy of Morals is a runner-up, and this one also has Ecce Homo. The Birth of Tragedy, I actually haven't read this. Beyond Good and Evil, Twilight of the Idols, and the Antichrist. I'm currently reading this book. I have to put it back for show. You can tell where I'm at, down the middle. The Will to Power, and then Aphorisms on Love and Hate. We have The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. I actually really like this book. I have Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre. I need to read more books by Sartre and Camus. I have 2 copies of The Trial because, again, I didn't like this copy. But I'm actually yet to read this. These are philosophical fiction, so The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. We have 3 Camus, all of which I love. The Fall, The Stranger, and the Myth of Sisyphus. Then we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And then I have my other hyperfixation, Hermann Hesse. So we have Beneath the Wheel, which might be my favorite. For the longest time, it was Siddhartha. I actually don't have my copy of Siddhartha right now. But for the longest time, that was my favorite book. I read this book a while back. And then I think it gets better with time. I keep looking back at this book, so I think this has made such a big impact. Beneath the Wheel. Got Damien. Pictures Metamorphoses. This is Magister Ludi, or The Glass Bead Game. We have Narcisse and Goldmund. Steppenwolf. And then, oh, this is Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead. It's kind of beaten up, but over here are my classics. Merch from Gone with the Wind. It sits right next to my Gone with the Wind first edition. Then we have Russian Lit, Gogol, got Dead Souls, and The Government Inspector. Then we have Bulgakov, The Master, and Margarita. Of course, we have Dostoevsky. Again, a hyperfixation at some point. Obsessed with the Brothers Karamazov. It's like a Mexican telenovela. We have The Crime and Punishment, The Idiot, and just a bunch of short stories, Notes from Underground. One's a hyperfixation as well. Sherlock Holmes. I have the complete stories here. And then I have another one right here. Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And then this is Oscar Wilde, just a compilation of stories. We have The Count of Monte Cristo, abridged edition by Alexandre Dumas. Love this. I should really get back to reading Dumas, but I just have so many on my plate right now. We have also need to read Virginia Woolf, The Waves. F. Scott Fitzgerald, not a big fan, but we have Diamond as Big as the Ritz and The Great Gatsby. Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Inferno by Dante Alighieri, not a big fan. Too comedic for me. We have To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This I find too boring to read. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Love this book. I have another Alexander Dumas that I haven't read. The Three Musketeers. Again, abridged edition. This is Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. My favorite book of all time. The Little Prince by Antoine Exupéry. Gift of Akbar by Ogmandino. And this one is the Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. These two books are secondhand books I found when I looked up books from Michael Jackson's library, and these two popped up, so I bought a copy. Emily Dickinson poetry book, and then I have these tiny books right here. Rilke, Letters to a Poet, How to Use Your Enemies by Baltasar Gashan, another Oscar Wilde. And then the rest of my Collins classics are here. Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde. George Orwell's 1984. The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Love this book as well. Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Bram Stoker's Dracula. I still haven't read this. Then we have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I love the writing of Jane Eyre, to be honest. But the story, not so much. Just the writing itself got me really hooked. Have The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. This is a really special story to me. I guess really special book. Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Be With You by Takuji Ichikawa. This book is the first book that ever made me cry. It was a blind read as well. Just bought it on sale. The Giver by Lois Lowry. Got The Missing World by Margot Livesey. And then I'm ready to read this, Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. I really want to get into Toni Morrison, so I want to give one of his book a shot, and I picked this one. A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Not really my favorite book. The Godfather by Mario Puzo. This I got as a gift, Come to Grief by Dick Francis. Then we have two Dan Brown books, Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. Two Murakami books. I really love Kafka on the Shore, but Norwegian Wood not so much. Have a Little Faith by Mitch Albom. Then we have Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yenma. I have a couple of Paulo Coelho books. I used to have all of these books. But this is one of my favorite books of all time, Veronica Decides to Die. Then we have The Alchemist, Brida, and Zahir. These are biographies, and mostly Michael Jackson. Huge fan of Michael Jackson. I have this mug as well. I got from Vegas. And just has a bunch of bookmarks and random stuff. So, we have just random Michael Jackson book that I found on sale. This is On Michael Jackson by Margot Jefferson. This is where I got most of my knowledge of Michael Jackson. This is his biography written by Jairandi Tarbrelli. This is the first edition, and then this is the complete one, which published after he died. Remember the Time by Bill Whitfield and Javan Beard. They're his bodyguards. This is Michael Jackson tapes by Rabbi Shmuley Botich. The Final Years of Michael Jackson Unmasked by Ian Halperin. Dancing the Dream by Michael Jackson. He wrote this himself. One of my favorite books. This is the book that inspired me to write. Michael Jackson, Life of a Legend. It's a coffee table book. And then we have BTS memoir, Beyond the Story, and an Avril Lavigne biography by Joe Thorley. Fantasy. I have 3 shelves. I love fantasy growing up. I'm still trying to get back into fantasy, but I just lose interest once in a while and I go back to either philosophy or classic. We got some little dragon figurines over here. I got these from Vegas. Let me move them aside. Oh, this is a 3D print of a dragon. It's an egg. Alright, over here. So, these are all dragon books. The Dragon Book. It's an anthology. Then we have Dragon Keeper. Time for Dragons. This is a Filipino anthology. Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Then we got Eon and Iona, my favorite duology growing up. Dragon Spell by Donita K. Paul. Then we have Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. My Own Book, Dreams, over here. And then we have Aragon and Eldest by Christopher Paolini. I heard there is a TV show coming up. I'm really excited about that. A lot of people don't love this series, but as a kid, they were the best books you'll ever read. Apart from the Harry Potter. So I have the 2 books here. I didn't continue the series. And then we have The Hobbit by Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, the first book by J.R.R. Tolkien. I haven't read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so I really wanted to. Well, this is book 2 and book 3 of the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. Again, one of the best books I've read when I was really young. First 2 books from the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang, the Poppy War and the Dragon Republic. Then we have A Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, the first book. Quite intimidated with the amount of books to read. I'm actually currently reading this. I'm just taking a break. Okay. And then we have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Most of this first book because I lose interest while I'm reading it and I just never continue. I don't know, I really miss the time when I could read like fantasy books back to back, but now that I'm older, I just lose interest. The Wicked Deep by Earnshaw. Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. I hate this book. Hero Born by Jin Yong. A Hero Born. This is a classic Chinese fantasy, and I haven't read it yet. The Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. They have The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, and my mom bought this. It's a horror book. It's actually a classic. And then over here, I have my Cassandra Clare collection. Huge fan of Cassandra Clare growing up. Like, I was obsessed with the Shadowhunter saga. So I have all of the books up until a certain point. Over here, I have the first book from the Magisterium series, The Iron Trial by Cassandra Clare and Holy Black. The Shadowhunters Codex. And then the 10th anniversary edition of City of Bones. Then we got the Bane Chronicles. We got City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of the Fallen Angels, and City of Heavenly Fire, the Immortal Instruments. And then I have Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess, the Infernal Devices. This is Lady Midnight, the first book from the Dark Artifices. That's when I stopped reading her books. And then some other books here that are companion books, Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. And then this is an illustrated history of notable Shadowhunters and denizens of the Downworld. This is the movie tie-up when the movie came out. And then we have Divergent by Veronica Roth. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by... who is this by? Benjamin Sáenz. Then we have Tahar Mafi. I loved her Shatter Me trilogy. Again, growing up, but I lost my copies. I did try to continue the series, but I lost interest. This is the 4th book, Restore Me, and I have the first book from her other trilogy, Furthermore. And then I have this sword. It's a wooden sword. I did Cali for a time. It's a Filipino martial arts. They're based in Manila. I really want to go back, but it's too far and I can't commit. But I do have the sword that we would practice with. At the bottom, these are mostly books from my childhood. So we have The Fifth Wave. Again, I would repurchase the first book from the trilogy that I found significant in my life growing up. The Fifth Wave actually made me cry. This is by Rick Yancey. Blood of Smoke and Bone is also a repurchase by Lenny Taylor. These are also repurchased because I love this trilogy growing up. Switch, Torn, and Ascend by Amanda Hawking. I don't have the Hunger Games trilogy, but those, I need to repurchase those. But I do have the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Then we have Christine Cashore, Jane Unlimited, and Graceling, which is an amazing fantasy book. First 2 books from this series, Tiger Saga, Tiger's Curse, and Tiger's Quest. And I love this cover. It's so pretty. This is an arc. Then we have Pure by Juliana Bagot, Goddess Interrupted by Amy Carter, Chasing the Dragon by Justina Robson. Then we have Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. Not really a fan of, what are those books? Like Wolf. The Name of a Star by Maureen Johnson. The Princess Academy by Shannon Hill. And then over here I just have like Catching Fire pin. And I have the Deathly Hallows. Okay, we have Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. The first book from the Percy Jackson series. The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. And then of course we have the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. And this butterbeer mug that I got from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Okay, over here are my non-fiction. So, well, this is fiction. It's a bedtime storybook. Then I have a language book, Easy Spanish Step by Step. I did learn Spanish. Now I'm learning Mandarin. Sudoku. I love playing Sudoku. It quiets my brain. The Art of Creative Writing by Lois Egri, I think. Lahos Egri. Then we have 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. I hate that book. Pep Talks for Writers by Faulkner. Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. And then I have some modern poetry. They were quite famous for a time. Her Volume 2 and Him by Pierjanti. Langleaf Sea of Strangers, and we have Dirty Pretty Things by Michael Fodé. Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. Midnight Monologues by Carissa Ong. Mind Platter by Zibian. And then these are our business books. So we have You Can Negotiate Anything by Herb Cohen. Rich Dads Increase Your Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college. It was recommended by a business professor. We have The Body Language by Alan and Barbara Pease. Intelligent Conversationalist by Imogen Lloyd Webber. Crazy Like Us by Ethan Waters. Into the Magic Shop by James Doty. What If by Rundle Monroe. 101 Things I Learned in Law School by these two people. Educated. This is a biography. Well, it's not a biography. It's a memoir. Educated by Tara Westover. Barbarians at the Gates by Brian Burrow and John Helyar. I Would If I Could and I Can by James Hockey. I think that's the name. Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Yeah. Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. Everyone has this book. It's Not How You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be by Paul Arden. Why has nobody told me this before? This is an amazing book. Ego is the Enemy. Where is by Ryan Holiday. How to Get Along with Difficult People by William Dean. How to Win Any Argument by Robert Mayer. The Daily Laws by Robert Greene. And then these two concise books by him. The 48 Laws of Power and The Art of Seduction. Robert Greene is actually one of my favorite nonfiction authors. And then we have The New Health Rules by Lipman Claro. And then these are, well, first half is history. And then these are just like psychological books. So we have Mind Games by Michael Powell. Criminal Masterminds by Charlotte Krieg. Talking with Serial Killers by Christopher Berry D. Wisdom of Psychopaths by Kevin Dunn. And then history, we have No Limitang Here by Jose Rizal. This is in English, translated by Leon Guerrero. Lessons of History by Will and Ariel Durant. The History of the World in Bite-Sized Chunks by Emma Marriott. Brief History of Kublai Khan by Jonathan Clements. Short Introduction to Religion by Gordon Kerr. Then we have China After Mai by Frank Dicotter. The First Voyage Around the World. Who wrote this? Pigafetta. Marcos Legacy by Cecilia Aurelio. Written History by Simon C. Montefiore. And Strategy and History by this guy, Look Back. So that is it. That is the bookshelf. I do have more books up here, but they're mostly textbooks, law books.